Okay, so I'm gonna make some changes to the Kyoukai starter deck today, and I thought I would record my process, talk a little bit about what I think a starter deck in a card game wants to be and what it should accomplish, and why Kyoukai might be a little different. And then I'm going to play some games with my friend Russ. All right, let's get into it. So usually a starter deck wants to accomplish two main things: teaching some of the core parts of the game, making it more accessible, and presenting some of the base balancing and what you might expect from a real game of the card game. And the second thing, of course, is to get people to buy more product, to kind of present some hints of what the game might be like and try to get you to want to get more powerful cards for your actual deck. And so Kyokai's starter deck is a little underpowered compared to actual games. It's been streamlined to play faster than a real game a little bit, to kind of make the game end before you get bored of the somewhat simple version of it. But it's different in that it doesn't really try to get you to buy more cards, because the $15 version of Kyoukai that you get through the Kickstarter will simply have all the cards that are available. In the pre-alpha, if the Kickstarter funds before the game actually comes out fully, you'll have access to an alpha branch with all the available cards updating as more cards are coded and designed. Most of them are already pretty designed now, but they need to get art designed. And then after the Kickstarter, the $15 game will have all of set 1. Each additional set will probably cost something as DLC, but I'm not sure how I'm going to set that up yet, because I want to make sure that if there's a lot of sets out, fingers crossed, it won't be too expensive to get in. At the same time, I don't want to constantly be asking for more money all the time if we don't need it for anything. But for now, let's just worry about set 1. And the starter deck for set 1 is right in front of us. So, with Kyoukai, something that's a little different from other card games is that there is a field to think about. So if you haven't learned how to play yet, this is the opponent's entrant, this is my entrant, and this is you. You want to hit your opponent's entrant for 20 by going towards them and attacking them. However, you can use the cards in your deck, which are called gates. Every card is a gate that you open on the field. So these gates help you to control the board, have more field presence, modify the game with quick effects and stuff like that, or instant speed effects, which are called fast gates in fast effects in Kyoukai. And thinking about that kind of chess-like strategy of putting down summons so that you have a bunch of units to work with, and using these skills and moving and attacking with the units you already have on the board, adds a layer of strategy that is new to think about and is pretty entertaining, I think, when you're playing Kyoukai as a new game. And so the starter deck should focus on making those decisions more interesting, widening those decisions, giving you tools to use on the board. And some of these gates actually don't do a good job of that. They start to get into more effect-based thinking as opposed to board-based thinking, which effect-based thinking is going to be a big part of Kyoukai, actually making combos and thinking about how your gates affect the board. However, actually learning to think about there being a board in the first place that you share with your opponent is probably something that's more important to focus on in a starter deck. And so with that being the case, that's kind of what I want to think about when I'm making some of these changes. So I'm just going to go through the cards that are currently in the starter deck one by one and how I feel about them in the starter deck. The first one is Hunting Eagle, which is the core of the balancing of the game. Hunting Eagle is the dodging card. It's the typical dodging card. And so if you've learned how to play Kyoukai already, you'll know that the top effect on a gate is the open effect. So it's what happens when you open the gate from your hand. And Hunting Eagle readies immediately. As you can see when I hover over these guys, there's these blue zones here. These blue zones are the only zones that you can open a gate into. They have to be next to one of your ready gates, and they have to be empty. And so, as you can see, if I open Lumbering Tortoise here, Lumbering Tortoise has no open effect, so it will open the normal way, which is simply to open it and it comes in rested. Once it's rested, you can no longer open gates next to it until it readies at the start of the next turn during your ready phase. And so, as you can see, that blue zone is closed up. However, Hunting Eagle does ready when it's open. And as soon as it readies, you can see I can open next to that too. So Eagle does a good job of letting you immediately go in with it, immediately start attacking with it. But it's very weak, with only 3 attack and 0 defense compared to your entrant, which is 9 attack, compared to the turtle, which is crazily high attack and defense. We'll talk about the 0 movement in a second. But it does a good job of driving the tempo of the game, speeding things up a little bit when you have it, letting you be a little more aggressive and responsive to the things that your opponent might be doing. The second effect on it is the dodging I was talking about earlier. Its skill on the bottom is Rapid Instinct. As a fast skill, it can target a bordering zone, deal 1 to that target, and then it can move 1. which means that in response to things, it can dodge. Let's say, for example, I was going to attack myself. You can attack your own gates, which sometimes comes up in Kyoukai. Let's say I was attacking my own eagle. Let's push this notification to the side. You could use the eagle. Let's say, pretend this is my opponent attacking the eagle. So I could use the skill to hit one and then move out of the way. And the target of the original attack stays in the zone it was in. And so the eagle has like that hit and run ability that lets you, it's more utility than just that, but at the end of the day, it is a hit and run, very basic card that starts to give you a better impression of how you might get creative with your plays in an actual game of Kyoukai. Next is Lumbering Tortoise, who has 0 movement because its only ability to move is with its skill. So during your turn, you can move every ready gate by resting it, or attack or use its skill. However, if you move it first, you can use the attack or the skill afterwards. But if you attack or use the skill first, you can no longer move afterwards. So similar to like Fire Emblem, Disgaea, a bunch of different strategy RPGs, and especially the isometric RPGs that turned all these cards sideways that this is a reference to. Every unit can move and then attack, or move and then use its special skill. And they can also attack immediately, but they cannot move afterwards. So that's a pullover from Final Fantasy Tactics and Fire Emblem and etc. And Lumbering Tortoise has 0 move because it can only move with its skill, which means it can only move once each turn, and it cannot move and then attack, which means this high defense and high attack are held back by its 0 movement, causing it to be very slow and essentially a lumbering tortoise. Earlier versions of this card made you like discard to ready it at the beginning of your turn. There were all sorts of different designs, but this is the most natural version of it so far, and I really like how it works. However, for the starter deck, what ends up happening is its unique aspects are a little too unique, and they force you to think about that instead of just the board. And rather than feeling like something that extends your natural thinking towards a strategy RPG board, it's something that kind of redirects your thinking, and it makes you like, you have to like think about things in a different way just for this card, which isn't really conducive to a starter deck. It ends up creating like stall outs and like making your opponent try to figure out how to get around it. High defenses require you to know about how sequences work. So in Kyoukai, when you hit something, actually let me just show you. In Kyoukai, when you hit something, the damage goes to the defense first. Every summon has 1 life, your entrant has 20 life. And so what that means is if something has any life at all, it stays. At the end of the sequence is when the health goes back up. So let's say, for example, Punch, which will do 9 here. You see the defense goes to 0, but it doesn't die. And then it goes right back to 9 at the end of the sequence. That's because something doesn't die until it's taken 1 damage over its defense at least. And so, for example, because Hunting Eagle has a fast skill that deals 1, I can attack it for 9 with my entrant, and then respond by hitting it with my eagle too. And because these are in the same sequence, the damage will pile on, and you'll see it go to 8, and then finally actually discarding it. And so you can add damage up like that, but only if you do it during the same sequence. And that's kind of a rule I don't actually even want to introduce in the starter deck. It turns out it's a little much, and there's enough to think about that's new just from the positioning. And even though it does come up even without the tortoise, let's just take the tortoise out for now. So the tortoise is out of the starter deck. Next is Pin Fencer Pixie. Pin Fencer Pixie has 0 attack and 4 defense and 2 movement. So it's actually a pretty good striker, a pretty good defender, and for 2 movement, 4 attack and 4 defense would be wild. But Pin Fencer Pixie does not ever have both at the same time. She has a skill called Small Sword Resolve that lets her target a bordering zone for this sequence switch the printed attack and defense of this gate. As you can see that in practice here. Actually, hold on, let me put the tortoises back in because we need a full deck to hit the test button here. So you can see that Pin Fencer Pixie still lets you attack, and the problem is that of course you'd want the simulator to let you do the optional attack, but she will simply attack for 0. This is a misclick that happens a little too often, and I've thought about rephrasing Small Sword Resolve to be a passive that affects her normal attack, but I don't think it's worth it for design reasons. It'd obfuscate the actual effect too much, it'd be too much text for no reason. But in a simulator where you can't really take things back, it's too easy to misclick on this. And even though this card is like pretty good actually for teaching stuff about Kyoukai, remembering, hitting the skill and she becomes a 4-0, remembering to hit the skill instead of the attack is a pretty big feels bad when you misclick on it, and it can swing full games and there's no way to take it back, and it's something that feels unnecessary to try to teach, so these are going to come out too. Next is going to be Wandering Lion. Wandering Lion is another one of the balancing cores. One of the first cards ever drawn, actually maybe the first card ever drawn, Wandering Lion is a 9 attack, 3 defense, 1 movement summon with a regular normal skill. So this skill you cannot respond to other things with it. And its skill is Primal Instinct. Target 1 bordering zone. This deals its attack to target. If that discarded a summon or spirit, this must move to target, and then it must attack a bordering gate if there is one. And so the lore of Wandering Lion is that it's like a bloodthirsty lion. If it tastes blood, it has to attack again, even if it's forced to attack you, even if you're the gate that's next to it. And so, for example, I'm just going to set up a situation here, go ahead and let a turn cycle. And so Wandering Lion is pretty cool because it lets you take advantage of certain board states, which is something I really want Kyoukai cards to do. Something I really want people to be thinking about in Kyoukai is how to set up these special board states, which for Wandering Lion just means that it's able to hit something, kill something, and then also have something next to it. See, it's forced to attack. I'm forced to attack myself here. And so the Lion is a pretty interesting card because your opponent is able to, in the future, when more cards are out and your opponent is able to kind of move your cards around, they can maybe force you to attack yourself with the Lion in certain situations. The Lion is very good for the starter deck. You think about the board space, you think, how do I line up my opponent's summons, how do I get them to put these things next to each other and stuff like that. All the while your opponent can see that the Lion is on the board and play around it, maybe fall into it on accident, that kind of thing. So the Lion's super good for the starter deck. Next is Zodiac Dragon Cloudfarer, who will also be staying in the starter deck. 10 attack, 1 move, 1 defense. This guy is a similar to BLS in Yu-Gi-Oh! If you've played it before, but because you have to shatter 3 differently named gates, which shatter is like exile in Magic or banish in Yu-Gi-Oh! Remove from play in Yu-Gi-Oh! For older players. It can only be played once a certain number of things have been done. So once you've already used 3 gates or 3 of your other summons have already died, you can play Cloudfarer and it readies itself immediately. So just like the Eagle, as soon as you put it down, you can immediately start attacking and moving with it. You can immediately start opening stuff next to it. So really good in that way. But in addition, it has Sky Pierce Dive. This moves 1, then deals its attack to a bordering zone. Place this on the bottom of your deck. So in addition to just moving 1 and attacking for 10, a normal Kyoukai attack targets. However, Dragon does not target for its skill attack. So if you want to, after moving, move again, basically get 2 movement, and then attack, the Dragon will still be 1 space away from wherever it'll end up being before it attacks. So your opponent will have a very hard time blocking it, very hard time knowing where it might attack. There are many times where it might hit 2 different places or go to 2 different zones bordering the same card, and your opponent will have a hard time stopping it, having a hard time knowing where it's going. So that makes it a really strong effect, and is why it goes back to the bottom of the deck at the end. So the lore of this guy is that he descends from the heavens, and after using his full power Sky Pierce Dive, it returns home. So yeah, really cool. Definitely staying in starter deck at 2, because if you open too many of these early, they just got stuck in your hand, right? So it's a card that you can brick on. Even if you open 2, it's not that bad to play with the rest of the cards in your hand until you can put it down. So yeah, but 10 attack is like half your opponent's life, right? It's a really powerful guy. And it gets through even the defenses of stuff like Lumbering Tortoise. Even though he's leaving the starter deck, the Dragon is one that's super good and makes it into Constructed and all that jazz. Next is Zodiac Ghost Signpost, one of the first Kyoukai cards that is done. So as you can see, this is the actual art. Actually, when we presented Alkai with the starter deck gates and asked which of them she wanted to finish, she ended up going with Signpost because she really liked the way the goat looked, and Mark did a very great job with the sketch. And this is a really great interpretation of it. The lighting is amazing, and this Zodiac ring in the back we're definitely going to keep for all the rest of the gates as well. Really amazing art. I love the tongue sticking out of the goat. Mark had that. I'm super glad it made it in such a great way. It's just a really funny expression on a really cool card. The goat has a skill that is related to my interpretation of the Kyoukai field, which is that the edges and the corners are like mountain peaks or like walls of the stadium. And so when the signpost gets into a corner zone of the field, whether it's by opening it or moving it, it immediately readies itself. And so you can see that if I actually just put it in here, it's pretty simple to test. So yeah, let me just move this out of the way, and you'll see when I open the goat here, it will immediately untap. See, there it goes. So yeah, it's a goat that gets really invigorated when it gets up at the top of a mountain, and there he is. There he is in the little hologram. As you can see, when I move it down here, it'll immediately untap itself again. Which means if you cancel the after move mode, you can then move it again. Pretty funny. If you can push your opponent into a corner of the field, if you can get your opponent to play near a corner while you have a goat in your hand or while there's a goat on the field somewhere, you can really do some really cool stuff with it. And it doesn't matter how it gets into the corner, whatever puts it in the corner will cause it to ready. See? Pretty cool. So, that's how the goat works. The goat's super cool for this starter deck. Definitely staying in. Next we have the horse. So the horse is an interesting one because it's essentially a cavalry leader. So it is very low stats for a one movement creature. However, it's more about getting stuff into position than it is about actually doing anything by itself. So you can see here, you move the horse up, use its skill, Gallant March. And as you can see, there's only one choice here. The only summon bordering the horse is the eagle. And then I can pick a direction for the horse to move. And if the eagle can move in that direction too, it also will. The horse is also staying in. Super good for leading the charge, getting you into weird positions, putting the wandering lion into position in the right way, getting stuff where you want it to go. And a good card for thinking about positioning. Actually, you'll notice that your entrant has a very similar effect that I used earlier on the goat, but in the other direction, where the participant can convince summons to go where he wants and follow along, and the horse can lead them. Also, fun thing, when Mark was coming up with the art for the Zodiac horse, he had this idea to make the horse Akira sliding because other summons are supposed to be riding it. So you'll see this little bird up here riding him. Actually, that bird and that bird, this bird here, you see, that's all the same bird. That's actually a character that is coming soon here. Although the effects are unrevealed, this is Key, the Curious Canary, and the lore of that guy just kind of being in other arts is... He's kind of just an explorer, just a research assistant that's kind of that just shows up in other arts because he's always flying around, flitting about. You'll see Key show up here and there. Next, we have Zodiac Ox Cornerstone. So Cornerstone has actually got a very simple effect. During your opponent's ready step, it untaps. It's also got a very high 4/6 stat line. This guy is really cool because one common thing that happens in the starter deck is you tap out. So similar to Magic, where you need to hold mana open if you want to use an instant on your opponent's turn, you cannot use these fast gates, these red ones that you can open on your opponent's turn to do stuff, like block, for example, which is just a block. You cannot use these if you have no open zone to play in. You have to make sure that you have some ready gate somewhere with an empty zone next to it so that you can open stuff from your hand if you want to respond to things. And the Ox lets you essentially tap out and still have open zones on your opponent's turn. Although it's not exactly like mana, it's more of just a threshold thing where you just need to have that open zone somewhere on the field. So since Zodiac Ox untaps on your opponent's ready step too, you're able to just use everything and then not worry too much about which summon or entrant you're going to not use that turn so that you can use stuff on your opponent's turn. And so the Ox is good at letting you do that, and it's definitely staying in the starter deck. In fact, it's going to 3. So right now there's only 2 in there, but I'm going to bump that up to 3. It turns out it does a good job of teaching you not to tap out when you don't have it, once you're aware of how much it's helping you when you can tap out because of it. So next is another gate that's definitely staying in. Weather Vane is a funny concept that we came up with after we turned everything 45 degrees. It's a rooster that can tell that the world is tilted. It's a rooster that's not isometric even though the world around it is. And as you can see, it's actually able to move up, down, left, right in our perspective as players. So it can see the real perspective of the world. As you can see, its flavor text is a rooster that glides against the wind. Somehow it can sense the true orientation of the world. As you can see, it's sitting on a weather vane at a 45-degree angle and pointing like an arrow in between north and west because that is the world it sees. And as you can see, it gets a diagonal movement pattern. Although that isn't, diagonal is actually a little less than 2, it can still attack one more zone. So as you can see, the eagle can move to zones that the rooster cannot move to on the corners there, but the rooster can attack a zone that the eagle can't attack. So yeah, really interesting gameplay stuff, definitely staying in, and yeah, really powerful as well. Next is Punch, which is also staying in. Punch is a super basic card that just targets a zone that borders any of your gates, including itself, so it can reach a little bit and then deal 3 to it, but it deals 6 more, so it deals 9 instead if it targets a zone bordering your entrance. So if your entrance punching right next to itself, it deals 9. When you the lore, the in-game what's actually happening when you attack a zone far away from your entrant is that you're punching through a gate and your fist is coming out at the other side of the gate, right? You're using portals basically. So we're gonna update the art a little bit to reflect that, so it's clear that that's kind of the theme of what's happening, but it's a punch that when you punch far away, it does less damage, and when you punch right next to you, it does 9 because your entrant is 9 attack. attack. So next we have Into the Gate. Into the Gate is, I thought it would be harder to read than it is. Luckily, it seems people have a good idea of what it does pretty quickly. Open in a zone bordered by 2 or more of your gates. Target one empty bordering zone. Move one of your gate except this or a gate it borders to target. So let's give you an example of what that does. And let's say I have an eagle here and an eagle here. Eagles are really good for showcasing stuff because they come in ready. And I can only open Into the Gate here. Even though a normal summon you can open in any of these zones, Into the Gate can only open there because it has to open in a zone bordered by 2 or more of your gates. So let's go ahead and do that. And it'll ask me to target a bordering zone. Target one empty bordering zone. This is the only option. At resolution, it'll move one of your gate, except this, or a gate it borders to target, which means you choose anything outside of this cross here and move it to target. And so some players have been calling it teleport, and that's essentially what it is, but it's also a summoning circle type of thing. So you can see here, Feng, that's the name of this character, is entering the gate. This flavor text is overflowing and I need to deal with that. But this is a chapter 1 scene where Feng enters the gate for the first time and begins her adventure. And as a result, it sets up the summoning conditions for Feng Emerging Flame, which is a starter deck spirit that is pretty strong and will stay in the starter deck. While another Feng gate is not on the field, open bordering 3 or more of your gate, and then ready it immediately. So if your opponent doesn't already have one, or any of the other gates that are upgraded versions of her, she can open in this zone that's bordered by 3 of your gates. One of them has to be ready, of course, for you to even have access to the zone by normal game rules, but the additional cost is that you have to have 3 or more of your gates bordering it. So let's put it down there, and as you can see, she is a 9 attack, 2 movement, but the numbers are green because the numbers are going up. Her skill is that the movement, attack, and defense of this gate are always equal to the highest value among the summon and spirit and enter bordering it. And so between these 3, 9 is the greatest number, and between these 3, 2 is the greatest movement. And if it's next to your opponent's stuff, it'll look at your opponent's stats too. However, as you can see, as things move away from her, her stats will change. Her movement just went down because now she can only see the participant. That's like a lore reference to the fact that she's always like a sponge for the energy around her. That's some lore stuff from the short story you can read if you want, but yeah, and as you can see, if I move her over here, oh, all of a sudden, 0, 0, 0. So that's how Feng works, and she rewards you for getting the 3 things into that formation, or 4, or whatever. Creating formations and getting rewarded is what a lot of the spirits want to be, so that'll be fun. Some of the stronger spirit that the other characters have access to will not necessarily reward you in that same way, but I am actually trying to write more that do, as I try to trend towards unique card designs. Although I think certain entrants, especially the participant, are going to be more Kyoukai-like, because I want every entrant to feel more like other games, quote unquote, than even just Kyoukai itself, within the rule set of Kyoukai. So you'll see that more as I reveal more gates, but Into the Gate will stay at 2 in the starter deck. Next is Wanderer's Will. Wanderer's Will is a gate that looks at if something has moved twice. So it's actually a reference to the lion. You can see there's the wandering lion himself right in the picture, as the participant learns to embrace fully the lion's spirit. And so there's a lot of these like summon reference spells that are supposed to be like a reference to the effect of something else. And so there's one for the eagle, there's one for the lion, there's one for the pin fencer pixie. Some of them aren't revealed yet, but this one is and will remain in the starter deck. So if something has moved from 2 different effects, so not just moving twice. So as you can see, once this moves twice, it's still not enough because it hasn't moved from 2 effects. However, if it uses its own skill, which will let it move again, that does in fact count. And so Wanderer's Will and Eagle actually let you get a lot of turn 1 distance, which isn't necessarily good. It doesn't actually accomplish that much. However, it is something you can do. So Wanderer's Will can now target the eagle because it's moved from 2 different effects this turn and untap it. Now that it's ready, you can use it again. Or you can just leave it there with its fast skill open on your opponent's turn. The Wanderer's Will stay in. It's another card that helps you think about the game in the right way. Next is Block. Block is just like Punch, very simple. And you'll see these say first form. That's because they are part of Jin's archetype of form gates. So Jin is a martial artist. There are 3 archetypes of gates that kind of work well together, and each cool for each of the 4 entrants in the first set. Jin's basic one is a bunch of form gates that say like first form, second form, third form, that get more powerful obviously as you go up. You can only play a second form gate if you have a first form in your grave. You can only play a third form if you have a second form in your grave, and it goes all the way up to final form, which is the 4th one and asks you to have a third form in your grave. And so these gates aren't necessarily revealed yet. They don't have art. They're barely designed art-wise, but we've been balancing them in the alpha, and hopefully we'll be able to start revealing those soon during the Kickstarter. So for now, just know that there are some seeds of future archetypes in the generic pool, even like Shoresight Spell Shard just within this initial deck building pool that you have in the demo, the public demo. And so block lets you target a zone with your gate. Target gains 3 defense for the rest of the sequence. If target borders or has your entrant, it gains 6 more. And this is something I'm pretty proud of, is that the stats update really quickly and really well. And so you'll see if I punch here and then block, you'll see the stats go up and down. Yep. Alright, so block is staying in, obviously. And then Pin Fencer's Pixie Prayer. Target anyone's zone, switch the printed attack and defense of the summon or spirit or entrant and target for the rest of the sequence. This thing has had a lot of bugs. I'm pretty sure they're all worked out now. It's very clear about it being the printed attack and defense. However, that's actually like a little hard to program and define. But essentially things like Feng, the printed attack and defense are the 0 and the 0. So any attack and defense that she gains from her bordering stuff will not change. However, you can use it on the bordering things to change hers too. So for example, you can see she's 10-9-2. If I use Pin Fencer's Pixie Pride on her, you'll see that nothing happens because her printed attack and defense are 0-0. However, let's say I were to use it on the Tortoise instead. And now you'll see they both switch together, right? And so it's because Feng is seeing the switch on the other thing. What you actually want to touch are those white numbers, the printed numbers on the actual picture of the card. And so that'll be easier and more obvious what printed quote unquote means in real life. But I think it's worth keeping in the starter deck for now, so those are staying in. Last is Stone Throw, which targets any one zone, deals 1 to target and each zone it borders. A very simple card, however, capable of creating huge swings in the game if your opponent has too many 0 defense things all next to each other. And so Stone Throw is actually going to come out. There are a couple things that matter with 0 defense, and for a starter deck, it feels too bad to get hit when you're not paying attention. And although I would like to leave it in as something that kind of makes it so that your opponent has to learn and it makes you kind of want to play another game where you know about Stone Throw, the Stone Throw also doesn't do anything if your opponent just happens to not have any of the 0 defense things in play. So Stone Throw is a little bit too much of like a crazy or horrible. It also prevents me from putting Ancient Raptor in, which is just a normal monster. It has no effect at all, but it has 9 attack and 2 movement, which is crazy, but only 0 defense. Raptor is a gate that I just want to put in the starter deck. I actually want to put in more vanillas because I think one core part of Kyoukai is simply deploying all your summons, and there aren't enough summons. Right now, it's too easy for players to just open no summons, and you really want to teach the game by having a player put all their summons down right away and managing the board like chess. So 3 Ancient Raptors are going in. The other normal monsters, these are the only 2 normal monsters in the first set. Zodiac Tiger Warrior, 7 attack, 6 defense, 1 movement. Really high stats, no effect, just like the Raptor, another balancing core, quote unquote, and that's just going to go into a 3. And so I think those changes are going to help a lot. I think I also want to cut Wanderer's Will down to 2 because it's too prone to being unusable if you have the wrong kinds of summons in your hand. And I also want to cut the Prayer down to 2. The Prayer is also creating certain issues with having too many copies of it in your hand that really don't do enough when you have so many. And I'm going to use that additional space to introduce trap cards or escape route. So escape route is the first trap card that I was actually not going to, or a sealed gate in Kyoukai that I was not going to introduce in the starter deck, but I think might be worth it. Escape route opens face down as a sealed gate summon with 0 attack, 2 defense, and 0 movement, and it readies immediately. All sealed gates have a sealed effect, which is usually a fast skill that says during your opponent's turn while this is a sealed gate, you can flip it face up, switch this with your bordering gate. And so let's go put it into your opening hand and explain this a little bit. Trap cards in this game are pretty cool because they let you open stuff next to them immediately. They're another tempo driver, and so I can put this down immediately, and I can immediately open stuff next to it. However, I cannot use its skill because it is not my opponent's turn, as it says right on there. You'll see over here it says it's a sealed gate, but it's also escape route. Your opponent will not be able to see what is under here. It'll just say sealed gate for them. However, for you, it'll show you what it does. And so during your opponent's turn, you can flip it up and switch it with something. And so then like you can immediately open stuff next to it. So basically you can set up that board state that you want, right? Which is just like this trap card is defending the things in front of it. On your opponent's turn, you'll be able to flip it up. It'll flash itself. Your opponent will see what it is. and it can switch with one of your gates. And it gets discarded at the end of that sequence, but if they were attacking that zone, it now hits the escape route instead. So escape route is a very simple trap card that lets you dodge anything, and I think it's pretty simple to understand. So helps teach the fact that in this game, set trap cards, the mystery cards, are 2 defense summons. You can actually kill them by just attacking them normally and revealing them that way. So I think these are the changes I want to make, and the raptor and the tiger have pretty goofy stock art that still have watermarks over them, but that's what they're going to be for now. I'm just going to go ahead and save this and get ready to play with Russ. This is Russ. We play Kyoukai a lot in person, and we're testing the starter decks a little bit.
I like to think that I have played the most paper Kyoukai to be the worst Kyoukai duelist.
That's awesome.
Well.
Me too.
Yeah.
Same here, actually. So if anybody wants to join the Discord and play in the alpha with us, or even just with the demo with your friends, and let me know your strong opinions on how to play this game correctly, that would be awesome. Because
that would be very cool.
It's hard to gauge what good playing looks like between just a couple of us. And I've been designing the cards to be more open than being like than saying specifically what everything does, because it's tactical. There's a lot of freedom of how you can play it, and I think every time someone new plays it, they do something that I never thought about doing. So the more people play it, the
more the more your mind will explode when people do it. Oh, yeah, here's your room. Sorry, join.
Even in the starter deck, I'm sure there's probably some like tactical strategy that we're not thinking about, of just like
how to
like we're just moving cards around randomly, like randomly.
Hopefully, what this video will do is that I've got a second. What this video will do will tilt someone into wanting to play because we have done it so badly.
yeah. You're like, why would you put that there? That's what I want.
That would be absolutely fine.
That would be amazing.
Force.
Like, I feel like I'm not supposed to use my entrant effect to move forward, but I want to. I want to really bad, but I think it's wrong. I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking about how we always go like 2 summons.
We always do it.
Yeah. But it's just like, why are we doing that? And then it puts you in range for no reason of like, if you have like a eagle or something, you can just kill whatever. Because I think right now my horse is unkillable. Like you can't normally kill it. I took the stone throws out of the starter deck too because they were too swingy and
that makes
stupid.
Sense.
They were funny. They were funny as originally intended.
Like that.
What?
I do. I think maybe we just put this little guy down.
Ooh.
Just a little guy.
Yeah, it's like maybe you're not really supposed to push forward until your stuff is untapped, or you have, or you like know how to.
Probably also true.
Yeah.
The other thing, I feel like there has to be a.
And yeah, your entrant has a skill that it can use every turn to move something next to it 1, and then it moves to where it was. So you just saw him push the Childhood Guardian forward.
I think there has to be a balance between like moving forward a little bit, but not just walking out into live fire.
Yeah,
I think I have done many times.
Yeah. You can.
And then there's still ways where if I got like. I think that there's still ways where I could potentially try to be careful and then end up being too careful and also die because of that. I think that's also like extremely possible. So
yeah, and you can mouse over the opponent's stuff. This is something that I actually never really do well enough even in like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics when I'm playing those games. You can like mouse over the opponent's units and see where their attack ranges are and just stand in the little pot like around them, so you're not literally standing on the red zones. That you like hover over your opponent's cards and just see the red zones and not walk into them. But I do that in Fire. I do that in like every game I play. I always just walk in.
I always Oh really? I usually don't. Maybe I'll start doing that in Kyoukai.
Just look.
It's still your turn, right?
I was thinking, and then
you're good.
Maybe if I do this and then this goes up here, and then I go 1 over. Oh, and then I do that. But there's no reason to. Unless. No, it's not.
That's a Lorax reference.
To say unless.
Yep.
This goes up here, this goes up here, this goes over here. Aha! This does work. Wait, no it doesn't. Oh my god. I'm just gonna end my turn. I'm just gonna end my turn. I was trying to plan a way to get Feng in a way that made sense, but my hand has no fast cards in it. So I think this is right that my entry is at the front.
Important to know that I can't Feng while you Feng.
Yes, yeah. So you have to actually
until
get to
this
her.
Feng is outed. Yeah.
So Feng is a spirit card, which is like an extra deck in Yu-Gi-Oh, or like it's like a companion in Magic. You always have access to it, but their summoning conditions are weird. Russ has one on the field called Childhood Guardian, which you can only open if you're going second, and you just start the game with it. And then I have one called Feng, that's if you have 3 gates in like a little triangle formation like this, you can summon her in between them all. And then her stats are always equal to the max value of what's around her, even if it's like your opponent's cards. So her stats are always updating. And you cannot summon her if your opponent has one. In part because there's like a weird loop that happens if you let 2 of these exist at the same time. So it's better not to. Although I think there really isn't. Her effect used to be different. They used to like add up everything next to her, so there was like a loop problem, but I'm still worried about the code if 2 of her are on the field at the same time. It's also like a lore thing because she's like a pronoun. She's like a proper name.
I feel like your setup is strong right now.
Yeah, I'm in a good place, and now you're in range for sure. But 4/6 is really annoying. It's very annoying that Fun can't deal with the Ox at all. I have to.
Ox too thick.
Yeah. I have to get, but now you're in position, so this is the position I wanted earlier. So I can go Gallant March. Although I have to assume at this point you have a bunch of stuff. But I might as well find out. Might as well blow it all. Yeah, because Feng's stats are based on what's around her, I had to get my entrant over here so that she would have 9 attack for the Ox. And the Oxes themselves can't kill her either. Oh my god. 9 is enough. No! What if I put this here? The Zodiac Rooster can move diagonally. That's its thing. It sees the world in diagonal. So you can see it from the range. You can attack diagonally too, and it can like move between stuff. It's just a little.
My little dogs are home. This is exciting.
Whoa! Wow.
They've been groomed.
And now
they are. Hi, bud. Hi, bud. Are you all handsome now? Yeah.
I'll put a picture of them on the screen.
I go.
Okay, I'm gonna put a picture.
Yeah.
I'll put a picture of them. I'll edit a picture onto the screen.
Yeah. Can you just please?
Wait, what the heck? What did I click on? I think I messed up the rooster.
Okay, I know, buddy. Here's a better back.
This is a much more.
A very powerful card returned. Very powerful card.
No, I will say this is a much more fair game state than we normally make. Now that we are actually
we tried to be reasonable about it. That is the big difference. I think.
This is a good one to upload.
Yeah, this is solid for sure. Outing the Feng is still like annoying.
Yeah, the Oxes make the you can like move the Oxes away from her, but
yeah, I mean that doesn't really like. Then I can't. Well, maybe that's the play. Let me try something dumb. Not dumb, but let's see. You also have 2 cards.
Oh crap! I think I see. Oh no! I forgot this was here. Yeah, that'll happen. And I did. Oh man, I did set up the ranges to specifically show when other cards are blocking in a realistic way. So I guess you do have to think about. Yep, and there she loses her defense.
Yeah.
You do actually have to think about if your opponent can unblock something, because the Raptor's in range and I didn't realize it until now. Although, I guess if you just have a punch, it would work too. Or if you just have an eagle, it would work too.
Oh yeah.
Wow, there he is. Our friend, the eagle. Oh, there she goes.
Mm-hmm. There she goes.
Oh my god, and you're set up for it too. Wow.
I sure am.
That's cool.
But it's not really safe.
Yeah, it's not a super good one. But it's not bad.
I think I can do this.
Maybe you're not even supposed to summon Funk. Maybe we're just trigger happy for no reason. The way that we've been playing up until now.
I'm like scared. Like it's actually like last turn too. So the Rooster's positioning is actually just like really strong.
Yeah, Rooster's a
like,
freak.
Randomly like way more annoying than it reasonably should be.
Its stats used to be 9. That's why I toned it way down. I played with.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I played with
the fact
Evan
that it
one
can
time.
jump diagonally and hit my like whatever zone this is, this like C5 or whatever is like really bad for me.
Yeah.
Like really, really bad. And it makes me like want to rethink my whole deal here. And Childhood Guardian doesn't really matter.
No. It's really it was designed to just die at some point pointlessly, or not pointlessly, but like get a little value and go away, because it has to be worth 0 cards, or at most like half a card.
Although I am clicking Childhood Guardian and it is not doing anything right now.
No! Is it blinking when you hover over it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same problem every time. I put in a thing that's supposed to like every sequence it's supposed to go through and actively fix all of the cards that way. It's supposed to like unselect everything. Because it's one variable that's stuck on.
Yeah,
and it's supposed to.
It won't let me move him. So it's fine. I mean, he doesn't really like matter all that much. I'm not gonna play anything next to him right now anyway. I'm just gonna pass. But yeah, my thought was I was gonna move him to the opposite side of the entrant, and then push the dinosaur back a little bit just to like be like almost insulated from the Rooster. But if the Childhood Guardian gets eaten by the Rooster, it doesn't like really materially impact like what I was trying to do anyway. I think so.
Yeah, and it probably
doesn't really matter, but that would have been the maneuver.
Yeah.
On the next turn, you're saying it should be it'll work. You think like it'll?
No, it's if you hover over it, is it still blinking?
Let's see. Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah, so the fix isn't working. I'm gonna spend some time on that today. So yeah, so I don't.
That's the highlight of starting to play Kyoukai, is that you too can find bugs.
And report them in the Discord, please.
To send into the Discord.
Or just email me directly.
Complain about them. Just call Chris's home phone number.
Oh, yeah. Call my home phone number. I don't even have a thing. 111.
If his mom answers the phone, hang up and try again.
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's the rules. Oh, sorry. You're punching me?
I'm punching. I was thinking about how I only have, like, a very small number of ways to clear an ox ever, and
and that's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of them. Is being
that
literally.
I have to. That's like a good trade, though. I think
it is. Yeah,
because they're like the stat line on the ox is purposefully annoying. So
yeah, and I want the punches to win at the end, but if I have to use them now, then I have to use them now.
Yeah,
and I think
that's the thing. Like going face with the punches feels really good, but if you weren't gonna win anyway, it's not really a lot.
Yeah.
Are you moving your ox? Your oxing?
Well, we're next to each other now, so we're getting closer to the point where like there might be a turn where
I guess
somebody just gets.
You only got to kill him because your game is broken. You don't.
That's actually true. Yeah. That's all true. Well, right now I'm like putting myself in position to get attack punch for 27. Yeah, so I'm like, I have a way to stop it, but only one, which is why I'm about to do some tricky nonsense after this.
You're smacking the Rooster.
Yeah, or the eagle. I'm leaving my Rooster here. I like my Rooster covering literally 3/5 of the board. No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Suck my nutsos, baby.
Oh no. Okay. Alright, fine.
Yeah. Although I don't even know if that was worth it. It's one of those things I'm very happy the code works for that.
Yeah. And you felt like you needed to capitalize on it. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And then the horse is I'm using the horse to run away. I just need to not be in range of like move, attack, punch. You have too many cards in your hand. You can just walk over, attack me in this zone, and punch, and I lose. At least this way you have to do a little more than just that. Although you can still almost do it. It can't be punch. Punch deals 3 to any zone. You can see all the blue zones are where I can play it. punch deals 3 to... It targets a zone next to any of your cards, your gates, so I can, like, target anything here. He can target, like, anything next to his guys, too, or even next to the punch itself. It does 3, but if the zone that you target is next to your entrant, you deal 9 instead. So if you can get yourself next to them, and you have 2 punches in your hand, that's 18 already out of the 20. Yeah, easily. Yeah. So, I'm at 16. You only need 1 punch to kill me, so I super can't.
I don't have one.
Okay, well, I don't know that. I can't. I just can't. Yeah. Realistically, I can't be 1 space away from you. I can't just sit there and be like, he doesn't have it.
Yeah, I might have it.
You might have it.
I have stuff.
Yeah. I'm sure it's just. At this point, I have to assume it's dragons, which I think I mentioned in the deck profile when I was recording the starter deck part of it, where I'm talking about the starter deck. I mentioned that there's only 2 dragons because it's 2 dragons is fine to open, and you open 2 a lot.
Yeah, I'm really good at it.
Yeah,
it's one of my main talents,
fine.
Actually.
It's fine-ish. I mean, our game state is still balanced anyway, so...
It's one of my triple tactics talents.
Holy crap.
I know.
A TCG reference. Which I guess I should mention, this game is going to be $15 on Steam. It's $15 on Kickstarter to get a Steam license and then also be in the alpha test while the game is developing after the Kickstarter, if the Kickstarter funds. But it'll probably be $20 on Steam after that. But that's gonna be it. I don't know what's gonna happen if I ever get to print this game in paper, but until I do, it's just gonna be like all the cards for that much. There's not gonna be like microtransactions or a stupid currency or anything like that. And there's no NFTs and there's no blockchain. And I'm gonna freaking die.
You're not dead yet, unfortunately.
Is it possible for me to do 20? If I top deck... Oh, no, I have it. I have it if you don't have it.
What?
Oh, your hand is empty? I have it. I see it. I can see it with my 2 little eyes.
No.
I can see game.
Well, I'm tapping out. My hand's empty anyway.
Yeah, I just noticed your hand is empty. Here you are.
Just kill me then. I didn't have it.
Here you are.
I couldn't figure out a way.
Well, if you just stayed over there, that was all you needed to do.
No. Oh wait. Well, yeah. Well, gosh. Yeah, I guess I got.
All you had to do was just stay 1 space away, and it was fine.
No.
You let your guard down.
This is what I'm talking about getting. Yeah.
Yeah, getting greedy. Well, it's because I think it's hard to remember that your entrant is your life points. You can defend your life points by standing 2 spaces away from me. That's all you have to do. Oh no, I tapped out!
Yeah.
I did it in the wrong order!
Yeah.
No! I have a punch in my hand. Why did I... Oh my god. Why did I do the rooster
You literally could have just... Yeah, you just punch and then rooster and you win.
Oh my god. Oh my god. It's so stupid.
We're just learning about how sequencing your cards correctly is important, and that the better player always wins.
This game, by the way, for anyone that happens to be... If you're actually watching this game was designed to work in paper. And in paper, it's fine, because you just like take these things back a little bit while you're testing. But... it's hard to play. If you've ever played a simulator like Arena or Dueling Book and stuff, there's a big period at the beginning where you misclick a lot. Actually, I have that. I don't know if everyone else has that.
No. You have a forever period.
Yeah, but like I don't think about the order the way I do in paper. It's like different. And the recent tariff situation is what killed the paper printing, by the way. I don't know if that Kickstarter would have even worked anyways. But the tariffs are what made it full digital. Yeah, it's full digital right now. I have no funding or anything, so this is this is kind of running really like tight, like really, really spookily, like right on the edge.
Yeah, really convince the viewer that you're desperate.
Yeah, I'm truly desperate to make this game.
There you go.
Yep, here it is. Help me.
Very good.
Help me, and also you can just play the game for free and then not like it. Just try the game. Play
Actually,
the game.
Do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Play the game and don't like it.
We can make it better if you tell Chris.
Yeah, you can tell me how to make it better too. I'm pretty happy with where it is right now, functionally.
I like it too.
Yeah, but if you don't like it, you can tell me why. That never happens. You can see the loose screen here, really ugly. The windscreen's just as ugly. But like things like the animation for the screen when you win and lose are pretty like unimportant, I think. So they're put off for now. But yeah. Come try Kyoukai. Yeah, try it, please.
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 Please.